Hi, this is Rob from seehowtodoit.com. Before we start the video, we'd like to thank you for watching. We'd also like to ask you to please like, subscribe, and share on social media, and click on the link in the description to visit us at seehowtodoit.com, where you can learn more or address any concerns you have. We're going to show you how to do a spring startup on your swamp cooler. We're going to pretty much clean out everything. We're going to replace the pads. We're going to replace the belt. Make sure all the tension is right. We're going to make sure the float is adjusted right. We're going to pretty much go through all the distributors, go through the whole swamp cooler, and point anything out that could be a problem. We're going to get started by removing all the swamp cooler doors. This is a side draft cooler, so I only have 3 doors. So we're going to go ahead and remove them. And this cooler has been maintained, so the doors are going to easily come out. And it's been already winterized, so they're going to slide right out, and we're going to take off all 3 of them. So we'll just repeat the process for all 3 doors. Also, if your swamp cooler has not been properly maintained, you might even have to beat on the door a little bit to get it out. You might even have to pry on it with a screwdriver by lifting it up to be able to get it out if it has not been maintained from all the mineral and buildup. Now that we have all the doors off to the swamp cooler, we can go ahead and shop vac it or blow it out. I prefer blowing it out with like a leaf blower because I could also get inside the squirrel cage and blow out any buildup or anything that's left over, and it's going to really do a good job. So now we're going to go ahead and thoroughly blow it out with a leaf blower, which is going to do a really good job. I'm going to show you how to oil the bearings on your swamp cooler. You're going to use Zoom Spout Oiler, and your bearings are really easy to find. They'll be on both sides of the shaft right over here. There's a little cap. You'll lift open the cap just like this. Now we're going to go ahead and oil the bearings. We're going to screw it in a little bit. We're going to also spin the squirrel cage a little bit. You want to fill it until it reaches the top. Next, we're going to want to go ahead and check the condition of our swamp cooler pump basket and also our screen, which in mine, it's in pretty good condition, so we're going to go ahead and reuse that. They're pretty inexpensive, so you might want to go to your local supply store and go ahead and change that. And we'll probably even put a link in the description on the website so you can find one too, to be able to change the screen and the basket. And you want to also inspect the condition of the hose, which mine looks pretty good right here. And it's not hitting anything, so we should be good with that. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the belt on our swamp cooler. Once again, also make sure it's powered down, that it's not on. You definitely don't want to get hurt. And it's very easy to remove. You're going to grab it over here and pull out just a little bit. So before it gets to the squirrel cage, it'll be popping off, just like it did right there. Then you can go ahead and remove it. Now we're ready to pop on our new belt. We'll start off by putting on one half of the belt right onto the motor pulley, and we'll also put a little bit of it onto the squirrel cage, and we're going to slowly turn it. Keep your fingers from getting pinched, and come around, and it'll pop on easily like that. And you're going to want some tension like this. This isn't bad right here. We're going to also show you how to adjust it. And as I was explaining before, this is pretty good for tension right over here. And to be able to adjust the tension on your motor, you're going to have a bolt right over here. You could loosen this bolt and you'll pull the motor either up or down to loosen or increase the tension. And as you can see, it's also been modified here with the screws, so it would help keep it tight. But this isn't bad for tension. At the worst, you're going to have to loosen this bolt, pull up on the motor to tighten the belt, pull a little bit down on the motor to loosen the belt. And then you should be good at once you have tension like this. You also want to make sure on your swamp cooler pump that you do connect your water bleed to bleed off the water so you don't build up minerals and all kinds of scale. So it's coming right out of the swamp cooler pump right over here, and I have it going right through the swamp cooler. And I have it connected on a 1/4-inch line, which I have a drip irrigation head. You could either run this into a drain or you could run it into a bucket and you could save it for your plants for watering. Okay, now we're ready to clean out our distributor lines. You could use one of these snakes, which you could pick up at any home improvement store, and there'll also be a link in the description on our website where to get it. And this is pretty easy. All you're going to do is just put the snake into the distributor and slide it all the way in. And keep on making a couple back and forth motions. And that'll pretty much clean it out. And you might even have to retouch this up once you fill up your swamp cooler and you're running it. Just be very careful that you don't drip any water from the distributors anywhere into the motor or the squirrel cage. Now we're ready to remove all the old swamp cooler pads. It's really helpful if you have a table to be able to put the doors on. And the easiest way to remove them is to pull up over here on each one and pop it off. And then you're going to repeat the same process on the other side. And that's the first one. And you're going to continue the process all the way down by just popping them off. And if your swamp cooler has not been maintained, you're probably going to have to take a pry bar or a screwdriver and pry them out. And you're going to repeat this process for all the doors. All right, now that we have all the wires removed, we can go ahead and remove the swamp cooler pads. And because this swamp cooler has been maintained, these pads are going to come out easily. If your swamp cooler has not been maintained, you're going to have to take a pry bar, and it's going to be very difficult to take the pads out. This is the purpose of doing routine maintenance on your swamp cooler, to keep issues and problems down and from ruining your equipment. So that's one out. So now we're going to go ahead and continue this process with all the doors. We're going to remove all the wire out of the doors and remove all the pads. Once you have all the swamp cooler pads removed, you're going to want to do an inspection on the door. We'll start off with the inspection by looking at the distributors. So we're going to want to look in the distributors, and you're going to want to make sure all the holes are open. If any of them are not open, you could take a flat blade screwdriver and pry them open. As you can see, this swamp cooler has been maintained, so all the distributors are open. Now we're going to want to go ahead and inspect the louvers of the door. This swamp cooler has been maintained, so they're going to all look good. If any one of these louvers look bent the other way, you're going to want to adjust it, because once the swamp cooler is running, it will make leaks. Water will be leaking outside of the swamp cooler, and it will cause a lot of other problems, and it could cause even property damage. And if your doors need to be sanded down, you could easily sand them down and paint them, and they'll look pretty good. So far from this side, this looks really good. We'll go ahead and flip over the door. As you could see, we're looking pretty good here too. And like I said, if any one of these louvers were bent the other way, you could take a needle nose and bend them back down to be able to hold it in so water's not leaking outside of the swamp cooler. So this looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and install the new pads. For sizing up your swamp cooler pads, of course you're going to want to measure the width and length of the door, and you're going to want to go a few inches bigger. And actually, even if you go 6 to 8 inches or more bigger is okay. You could fold it over. The pads I'm installing are bigger than necessary, and I will be folding them over, and I'll show you how to do that to avoid leaks. These are the aspirin snow coal pads I'll be using on the install today. You could pretty much pick these up at any home improvement store, and there'll also be a link in the description. We're going to go ahead and lay the pad out over the door, and then we're going to just fold it over a little bit, which we'll show you. We'll lay it out this way. And right over here at the top of the door, we're going to pretty much take the fabric that's over here, and we're going to fold it over, and we're going to tuck it in underneath the distributors. We're going to push it in underneath the distributors as far as we could possibly get it all the way across. All right, now that we have the top of the swamp cooler pad neatly tucked all the way across, we're going to go ahead and repeat the process all the way alongside the swamp cooler there. And we're going to also repeat the process all the way along over here. And once we get to the bottom here, we're going to go ahead and fold this underneath, which we'll show you that as we go also. All right, as you can see, we've neatly tucked in this whole entire side over here. And we're going to come over to the other side right over here, and we're going to repeat the process. All right, now that we have both sides in and the top, we're ready to go ahead and do the bottom of the door. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and fold it over all the way across, just like you see right here, and we'll show you how that looks once we fold it over. Okay, as you can see, we have our first pad all neatly installed all the way around, and you want everything tucked in really nice and neat. That way when you put back on the wire, it'll be firmly in there, and it'll avoid any leaks, especially around the distributors. You don't want any leaks coming from the wires, and it'll get in the motor, and it'll cause you a host of problems. So just continue this process for all the doors, then we'll go ahead and put on the wire. Now we're ready to go put back our wire, and you're going to want to make sure your wire is pretty straight. If it's not, you could bend it a little bit. If it's arched this way a little bit is good. That way it'll tuck the pad in further. So you're going to want to start by putting the wire in the holes, just like right over here, and we're going to repeat the process right over here. We'll put this wire in the hole, and then we'll put this one in the hole here. And you're going to continue this process for all the doors. It's all the same. Put all the wiring back in. Once I have all the wiring in on one door, we'll show you how neat it looks. All right, we have all of our wiring installed back on the doors. You can see it's all very nice and neat. It's all tucked in. Nothing pokes out at all, because if anything puffs out from the door, when the swamp cooler is running, this is going to get sucked into the swamp cooler. It's going to damage your bearings. Oh, it could cause some real nightmares. Your motor, you name it. So make sure that's nice and neat, and now you'll just continue this with all the doors, make them all look good, everything nice and flat, how it looks here. We're ready to do the next step. After you have finished installing all the pads in the swamp cooler doors, it's a good idea to hose down the doors. That way you'll be able to wash out any excess straw that's in there and prevent it from getting inside the swamp cooler and clogging up the pump and the distributors. Now that we've finished installing the swamp cooler pads, we're ready to go ahead and fill up the swamp cooler. As you're filling it, you're going to want to keep an eye on the swamp cooler water height. You're going to want to look for the ring that you have in the swamp cooler, which you could see mine right over here. And as the swamp cooler is filling, you might possibly have to adjust the float level right over here. All you have to do is loosen up on this, and then you could go higher or lower on the float. And it's also a good idea to have a little bit of an arch on the float too. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the water now. Okay, we've went ahead and turned on our water. Now we're going to start filling it up, and we're going to go ahead and keep an eye on the water height as it's filling to make sure we don't overfill it, and we'll adjust the swamp cooler float as necessary. While we're filling up the swamp cooler, we wanted to show you the thermostat that we have connected to this. Right now, you're able to adjust the temperature of this. So if you want the space set at 75, adjust the swamp cooler to 75, and it'll run until it achieves that temperature. It'll also prime the swamp cooler pads before turning them on, so you're going to avoid blowing dust into the space also. And you could set the motor to high and low. As you can see the inside here, that it is programmable. And this is a really good option that is fairly simple to install. If you visit us at seehowtodoit.com, there'll be a link in the description there for more information on this. Okay, right now our swamp cooler water level is high enough so we could check out our operation of our swamp cooler pump and check out our distributor operation. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the pump. Okay, right now we have our distributors running, and they're pretty much running all equal to this. This is what you're going to want all the way around with all your distributors, and you're going to not want any leaks coming out of any of the pipes or hoses. If you do, you'll have to address any leaks and repair them. Okay, right now we do have the water pan really good height. I don't know if you can see, the water is pretty much right over here, which is going to allow for all the pads, once all the pads soak up all the water. And if your swamp cooler was a little bit off, you could put a little bit more of a bend here, or you could adjust the float. Or you could take a needle nose and loosen this up a little bit, and then you could adjust higher or lower on the rod to get the water height as needed. Like I said, this is going to be good by the time we put the 3 swamp cooler doors back on and the pads absorb all the water. That way the water height will not be too low. So now we're ready to go ahead and put our doors back on. Pretty much it. That's how you can do your spring startup on your swamp cooler. Once again, we'd like to thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share on social media. And click on the link in the description to visit us at seehowtodoit.com, where you can learn more or address any concerns you have. Thank you.